The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Ultimate Tournament of Everything, a bracket-style podcast where we take two things, pit them up against each other, and find out which one will be the victor.
That's right, and we do that everyone's favorite way. We go to a Pee-wee football game, give each kid a random article off Wikipedia to put in their helmet. The last one standing is the winner.
Absolutely correct, but given new concussion protocols, I think that we would be perhaps safer if we just pick two random things off of Wikipedia.
That's probably better. Mine sounds illegal.
Yep, and will definitely require fewer shoulder pads in the end. So I think we just settle with that, and we could jump right in to round one.
In round one, we have the Gristmiller's house against the Wall of Hits, the video.
Ooh, the Gristmiller's house, where the Gristmiller undoubtedly lived, but the Wall of Hits was also exceptional. Let's see which one's going to stick to the wall and this very first round of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
The Gristmiller's house, also known as the Miller's house, is a historic home located at Bethlehem, Northampton County, Pennsylvania. That might be I think. That might be a typo. Might be one of the first ones we've seen. The original building is a one-story limestone structure built in 1782, and a one-half-story brick addition in the Federal style was built in the 1830s.
Yes, when you're at a place like this, you feel as though it is a singular location, unique to itself, despite its context, and I think that might explain the at. This place is special. It was one of the early private family homes and the first separate residence for the master of a trade constructed after the end of Bethlehem's general economy in the 1760s. It's situated adjacent to the 1869 Lukenbach Mill. This home allowed the miller to live close to the mill where he was responsible for grinding the grain into flour.
You know, that makes a lot of sense, living near where you work, especially when roads and cars and public transportation weren't really a thing. Now, the Gristmiller's house
just had horses then.
just horses, and depending on how poor you were, you might have had the slow one.
That's right, and you had to share it too.
Yeah, the original rideshare. The Gristmiller's house is presently under the care of the Historic Bethlehem Museums and Sites, which is a nonprofit organization. And while the building is currently not open to the public for your viewing pleasure, you can enjoy the Miller's House garden planted on a four-square pattern built in, first planted in 1870. And the garden includes native plants, such as roses and herbs, and is maintained by the Bethlehem Garden Club.
Well, I don't know about that, because I'm looking at a picture here, and it looks decrepit. This is basically kind of a barn-shaped structure built of brick, and it seems to have seen better days, though it looks like it might have gotten a new roof recently. It's a brick building of antiquity, something that's stuck around through the ages. But that makes me remember our other contestant, The Wall of Hits, the first video compilation by the British rock band Slade.
Now, this is titled after the compilation album of the same name. Wall of Hits was released on VHS in 1991. Remember VHS tapes?
Oh, do I ever. Those big bricks of untapped potential and magnetism. This was one of those special things where a band comes out with a CD and it's so amazing that they've just got to release it in a video form. It was revolutionary for the time. In 1991, Slade's former 1970s label, Polydor Records, approached the band with the idea of recording two singles to promote on a new compilation album, The Wall of Hits.
Now, the video compilation contains 16 music videos, spanning from 1971 to 1991. Between the videos, new interviews with all four members of the band gave background details on the songs and the videos. And the opening segment of the video features behind-the-scenes footage of the video for Radio Wall of Sound. So this is a band that's been around for a while.
Oh, I mean, I think we're all familiar with this band, but some of us hadn't been visually familiar with them, perhaps, as some of the band's hits from the 1970s had no music videos. This is pre-music video, pre-MTV, even pre-MTV doing actual music. Songs such as Come On, Feel the Noise, and I think we all know that one. There's a bunch of bangers on this album, including the aforementioned one. There's 'Cause I Love You, Goodbye T. Jane. It just goes on. Run Away. Mama, We're All Crazy Now is the final track. This was just a rockin' good time, and you could literally see that because it was in video form.
Now the question is the video going to be better than The House for the Guy Who Crushed Things into a Fine Powder?
Well, if I know anything about the rock band Slade, who now I recognize because I know that Come On, Feel the Noise song, I'm going to guess that they crushed a few things into a fine powder, and they managed to make awesome music and music videos. So I'm kind of psyched. I want to pop in the old VHS, throw on my giant headphones connected by a wire to my receiver, and just kind of dive in, moving on the wall of hits, in my opinion, to the next round.
I think I can agree with that. This is something that I actually have tangential knowledge related to. I've heard of some of these songs. I've never heard of the Gristmiller's House.
Yeah, Gristmiller, your commute was short, but so was your stay in the ultimate tournament of everything wall of hits. You're moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Good for them.
Yeah, they're just rocking and rolling. Can't be denied. Let's roll on to the next round.
It's time for round two.
In round two, we have Blindingy Lake against Fernand Ravoux.
Two fantastic competitors. I believe these two used to train together in the off season. Let's see if that relationship will provide any highlights and sparks in this competition.
Blindingy Lake is an alpine lake located in Blindingy Nature Park on Karstic Blindingy Plateau in Bosnia and Herzegovina between Jablanica, Tomislavgrad, and Posulji.
This is actually the largest of its kind in the country. The lake is most important hydrological feature of the park. So it's indeed the entire Dinaric Alps. Basically, what we're saying is that this is a very important lake, and looks like it provides water to much of the surrounding area.
Now, the lake sits at an elevation of 3,888 feet above sea level, is 1.6 miles long, 1.3 miles wide, but only about 15 feet deep.
Yeah, average depth around 1 meter. That is fascinating. I've never heard of such a lake. It's the direct result of a glacial retreat. However, according to the Office of Kenny, that's a good one. Documents and recent research into the matter. It's also the product of anthropogenic intervention and activities of human inhabitants. So it seems that a glacier kind of carved out this area. Humans kept scooping it, and now we got about a meter of water over a whole bunch of land.
Yes, it sounds like people actually made this lake, so it's an artificial lake. They wanted to keep water that was lost through subterranean passage, so local residents and cattle breeders sealed sinkholes with branches and clay so the water could not find its way underground, and then the lake was formed. So they made this lake.
Wow, that is awesome. I've never heard of. Well, I mean, it's probably awesome. It's pretty high up there, though. So, I mean, you're going to have to find a way to keep water around one way or the other. And this certainly seems as one way to do that.
Now, his competitor, Fernand Ravoux, didn't just have one way to do what he did. He had many, because he competed in the men's individual all-around event and the 1900 Summer Olympics. So he was very good at probably the uneven bars, pommel horse, maybe the rings. I don't actually know which Olympic gymnast events were around in 1900, if I've seen any of that old-timey footage, and if that is to be believed as true. A lot of it was just a guy kind of running and jumping one time.
Yeah, if you could jump up in the air, spin around in a circle, land, and say "ta-da," you were high in the runnings for gold. However, having not been indicated, I'm going to guess that this guy did not receive one of those. And that's about all the information that we've received on this individual. We know he was there. He showed up. He showed out. But in the end, I don't. It doesn't show me anything further about him. So I'm guessing that's about it. This lake, however, is still sticking around, though only a meter deep at a time. But I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think we have to go with the competitor that has the staying power, has the stick-with-itness to be made into something that it wasn't before, and has the ability to survive at alpine altitudes.
Yeah, it's a lucky lake, born into existence by cattle people and others with sticks and things to plug up holes. I mean, hey, that's the origin story of us all. Blid Dingy Lake, I think we are moving you on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I didn't think the lake would win when I first saw it, but then I saw its competitor, and then I realized why the lake would win.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to pull out too big a fish from that lake, but you can probably find some cattle around if you're looking for wildlife. So, speaking of wild, let's get in to round 3.
It's time for round 3.
In round 3, we have There Is No Authority But Yourself against Comey Paramac constituency.
Okay, yes. 2 drastically contrasting competitors facing off here. One stating there is no authority, the other stating they are the authority. Let's see which one will be borne out to be correct.
There Is No Authority But Yourself is a Dutch film directed by Alexander Oe, documenting the history of anarchist punk band Crass. The film features archive footage of the band and interviews with former members Steve Ignorant, Penny Rimbaud, and Guy Voucher. As well as reflecting on the band's past, the film focuses on their current activities and includes footage of Rimbaud performing with Last Amendment at the Vortex Jazz Club.
Ooh, and that is one spinning good time. Now, I don't want to seem crass here, but the title of the film is derived from the final lines of the Crass album. Sir, yes, sir, I will. It goes as follows. You must learn to live with your own conscience, your own morality, your own decision, your own self. You alone can do it. There is no authority but yourself.
Now, this film was released... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was reveling in their poetry, though they did rhyme self with self.
Yeah, you really can't rhyme self with self. It's not really a rhyme, it's just a repeat.
It is. To stick to true rhyming things is a selfless act. Clearly, this was not, as there were 2 of them included. There Is No Authority But Yourself premiered at the Raindance Film Festival at the Piccadilly Circus in London in October of 2006. We're not seeing any sort of acclaim or ratings here, so we've got to assume it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely when they don't rate it, that means it's the best, probably.
Yeah, speaking of unfair elections, let's jump over to the Comey Paramac constituency.
There's a Russian legislative constituency in 1993 to 2007, and in 2005 it was merged with Permoblast. So currently, the territory of the former Comey Paramac constituency is now part of the Kudmikar constituency of the Perm Cry.
Okay, so we got a group of people who decided that they were a group of people. There was another group of people who decided they were a group of people. And now those two groups of peoples are deciding that they are the same groups of peoples. If I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah, they all decided that they had to work together, even though so many of them are listed as independents.
Well, that is communism in a nutshell. We're looking at this here. Members elected from 1993 to 2003. We've got two of them, both from the Independent Party. So that's good long stays for both of those. Incumbent is Anna Viasova. The name sounds familiar. Looks like they've been around for a while, and they got 13,386 votes in 1995.
Yeah, we only have records of votes all the way up until 2003. So I don't know if they stopped holding elections in Russia then. If what I see on the news is to be believed, I don't think their elections really matter anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that they've really truly started, but they perpetrate as though they have. We've got winners. We've got vote counts. We've got a constituency.
Yeah, and you always got to love after a Russian election, Vladimir Putin goes out and goes, "It was not stolen," even though we know it was.
It was potato. I love that.
It was potato.
Yep, so good. Stephen Colbert, you're crushing it every single night. But as you know, there is no authority but yourself. This seems as though this was a anarchist punk. So we're gonna hear things a lot of, it's about taking charge of your life. You got to seize the carp, and I think that this rock album rocks. And so I think over the constituency of individuals in Russia and their apparent elections, I think I'm going to go with this album as my selection and move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I think we all know which one I'm going with. The anarchist band I've never heard of before because it's clearly better than the communism that I know a lot about.
There is no authority but yourself. There is no winner but yourself. You're moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
You can't hold a good anarchist punk band down. And you also can't keep down the rising tide that is round 4.
My round 4 is ready.
In round 4, we have Signorelli Parapraxis against Leo Farmar.
Ooh, two things that at a glance I've got no clue about, but I'm excited as heck to dive into both of them. Let's do so now.
Signorelli Parapraxis represents the first and best known example of parapraxis and its analysis in Freud's The Psychopathology of Everyday Life. The parapraxis centers on a word-finding problem and production of substitutes.
Now, in this study, Freud could not recall the name, Signorelli, of the painter of the Orvieto frescoes and produced as substitutes the names of two painters, Botticelli and Boltraffio. Freud's analysis shows what associative processes had linked Signorelli to Botticelli and Boltraffio. The analysis has been criticized by linguists and others.
Yeah, as with many things that Freud did, a lot of people go, "Oh, that's clearly true." And then you take 1 minute to look at it and you go, "I don't know, maybe Freud was kind of wrong." So in here, Freud in his analysis did not use the fact that he himself correctly remembered very well a picture of the painter in the lower left corner of one of the frescoes. The picture, sort of a signature, was thus a third substitute to the forgotten name, and he kind of just, I guess, ignored that fact when he was making his own theory.
Yeah. One important ingredient in Freud's analysis was the North Italian village Trefol, where he received the message of the suicide of one of his patients, who was struggling with their own problems. Without Trefoi, the substitute Boltraffio associated to it would be incomprehensible. Freud links Truffaut to the theme death and sexuality, a theme preceding the word-finding problem in a conversation Freud had during the trip by train through Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff actually relies on free association. So Freud basically says, "Oh, what word are you thinking of? That's probably related." And then he tries to figure out why it's related, ignoring that some of that is just entirely random.
That's right. And speaking of entirely random, let's jump over to our other randomly generated contestant, Leo Farmar, the British botanist.
Now, Farmar is a famed British botanist, and in 1883 obtained certificates in bookkeeping and arithmetic from the Society of Arts Polytechnic Centre in Dover. He was a botanist for the first West African expedition of Liverpool University's Institute of Commercial Research in the Tropics, and he has even published 2 books on the subject.
That aforementioned expedition, the purpose of it was to study problems connected with rubber, cocoa, fiber, and maize. The expedition visited Senegal, French Guiana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Ivory Coast, and the Gold Coast. Really got around. Toward the end of the expedition, Farmar's febrile illness caused changes to some of the scheduled visits he collected, though, and mounted nearly 800 botanical specimens.
That's a lot of specimens. I don't think if I were to go outside and really pay attention, I could identify 800 different plants around me, because I think a lot of them look the same. Oh, they're green? That's a plant.
I think that's why you take them back with you, so you can flip through them and, figure them out over the course of time in the comfort of your own psychologist's couch. And I think that jumping back over to the Signorelli parapraxis, that might have been a lot of what was going on over here too. It seems as though, you lay down, you think about it, you talk it out, and you come to something that works for you. I'm not sure really what the crux of this of this parapraxis would have been, other than that, all things are connected in an intertwining web of infinity.
Well, and that connection is only as strong as its weakest link, which is actually one of the methodological errors with this Freudian system, because introducing a hypernym weakens the chain, and Freud had to introduce a hypernym because already the first term in his chain was in error. He simply presents no criteria by which to judge a linking chain, and clearly precision should be one of the criteria which he left out, and for that reason, I don't think he has enough to move on to the next round.
I agree, but I'm going to have to think about it for a while and pay someone $300 an hour or more to decide. In the meantime, Leo Farmar, you're going far in the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
While Mike is paying someone to discuss his mental health problems, you don't have to pay anyone to listen to this show. It's free. Every Tuesday and Thursday, a full-length episode like this one, and every other day of the week, a short episode where we look at just one competitor. We ask for no money. We ask for no subscription. All we ask is that you like it, share with your friends, maybe subscribe, not the paid one, just the one where you get a free episode of this to your phone every morning.
Every single day. It's a balanced part of an exceptional breakfast. And I can't wait to eat up round 5.
Round 5. Round 5.
In round 5, we have Carl Magnuson against the Jacksonville Public Library.
Okay, yes. We've got an individual who was really pushing, pedaling, trying to get to the top. We've got another place that doesn't pedal a thing. It hands out books for free. So let's find out which approach is going to be victorious in this round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
Carl Magnuson, born April 21st, 1915, and passed away April 10th, 1966, was a Danish cyclist. He competed in the sprint and the team pursuit events at the 1936 Summer Olympics, and like so many competitors that competed in the Olympics where results are not mentioned, I'm assuming didn't medal.
Yeah, he seemed pretty middle to me. this whole article, we're talking about this is just an individual, a Danish individual who competed in some events in 1936.
Yeah, that's the entirety of what he did, and that's all he will ever do because he is now deceased. Now, his competitor, the Jacksonville Public Library, did some things and is going to continue doing some things, probably in the library space. This is a public library, obviously in Jacksonville, Florida. Primarily serves Jacksonville and Duval County, and is also used by the neighboring Baker, Nassau, Clay, and St. Johns counties, and is one of the largest library systems in Florida.
Absolutely. Located downtown near City Hall, prime location. The main library opened in November 2005, replacing the Hayden Burns Library. It was designed by a firm in 2011. Looks like it was a winner of something that they selected to do so. Very neat. The new library is almost 3 times the size of the previous one. And there's several other facilities here in the district, in the system. A whole bunch of books, including a mobile library.
And it's not just a library, it is also a community hub because there is a bookstore and cafe in the library. The bookstore and cafe, the bookstore is named the Boutique Bookstore, run by the Friends of the Library, and that opened with the library. Now, in 2013, it was closed to make way for the Lounge, and after a year and a half of legal wrangling and construction, Shelby's Cafe opened inside the concession space in the main library. Now, unfortunately, as we know, people who go to libraries tend to be very frugal and don't spend a lot on coffee. That then closed in 2011. If only you could rent the coffee.
Yeah, well, they've got other ways of bringing in the money. Patrons of this library can borrow books, magazines, zines, videos in the aforementioned VHS form or the more current DVD. They got audio materials. Here's what surprises me. The patrons may check out 100 items at a time. 10 of those can be DVDs, so they put a cap on that. But, most items, except for the express books and DVDs, have a 3-week checkout period. Very generous, but if you toe that line too far, you can get up to $10 in fees or a blocked account.
I feel like 100 items is a lot to get from a library. It feels like that number is very high. I would always check out 1 or 2 at a time.
I'm not, saying anybody should do this, just pointing out a loophole, but you could definitely get more than $10 worth of stuff out of there in 100, rentals and then just ditch. It doesn't sound like a great policy, but down there in Jacksonville, they're trustworthy folk, and I'm sure they would never do that. Speaking of trustworthy, we have no knowledge of whether Carl Magnuson was a trustworthy fella.
Usually, if somebody's trustworthy, there's probably something written about how trustworthy they were, and people who were very dishonest, there's usually something written about how very dishonest they were. But as like his racing career, he was probably right in the middle.
Yeah, I think you were just shy of it. Everyone's expected to be trustworthy, so people don't get credit enough for that. Hey, listener, you're doing a great job. And so is the Jacksonville Public Library. And so I'd like to move it on as my selection to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
We all know I agree. Who doesn't like a good library?
Absolutely. Jacksonville Public Library, we're going to check you out and return you in fewer than 3 weeks to avoid a fine in the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Let's check out round 6 next.
Make the turn around the last curve. He comes around the last side, and there you have it. There is your winner, round 6.
In round 6, we have the 1866 Honduran presidential election against Novak versus the city of Parma.
We have a decision to make, as did both of these contestants. We've got an election versus a court case. Nothing could be more like just, we're going to have to dive right in here and pull out the legal books. Let's do so now.
I have a feeling the word you were looking for is litigious.
but I was dancing around it. I didn't think it seemed quite right because elections are not supposed to be litigious, though time seems to be disproving that. But it's time that we learned about this election. It was held in Honduras in January 1866, and the result was a victory for Jose Maria Medina.
I would love to talk more about this presidential election. We all know how much I love and our listeners love late 18th, 17th century, 19th century? I always get those
19,
confused.
it goes that way.
Late 19th century Central American elections, but this is all that is listed about this one.
And I think that's the sign of a good election. If it just takes place, hey, done. And we can move on with, our government. That probably means they did a great job. But jumping over to this other contestant, the Novak versus City of Parma, there's quite a bit more to this article. So I'm guessing that it was a bit more controversial.
Now, Novak versus City of Parma is a 2022, so this year, decision of the United States of Court Appeals for the Sixth Circuit granting qualified immunity to the City of Parma, Ohio, and its officials for prosecuting Anthony Novak over a Facebook page parodying the Parma Police Department's page. As of October, the case is pending certiorari before the Supreme Court of the United States.
Okay, yeah, this case drew widespread attention when The Onion, a satirical newspaper, filed a humorous but sincere brief supporting Novak's certiorari petition. In March of 2016, Parma, Ohio resident Anthony Novak created a page on Facebook which mimicked that of Parma Police Department, except with their slogan, "We know crime," changed to "We no crime," from the KNOW form to the NOW form. And in the about section, he did so anonymously from his phone while waiting for a bus. This is just a guy who had an idea about something that would be funny. The cops got upset, and it has gone to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, he made a joke. He made a joke mocking the police department, and he made a Facebook page doing such. Now, he deleted comments that called the page fake, and when the police department posted to their own page warning about his page, he then posted to his page warning about their page.
Oh, man, they took this serious, too. Parma police obtained Novak's information from Facebook and arrested him on March 25th, 2016, a few weeks after the page's brief existence. He was charged with disrupting public services, a fourth-degree felony, and he spent 3 or 4 days in jail, being indicted in April of that year.
Yeah, and he was actually acquitted, and then right after he was acquitted, immediately announced plans to sue the city, which he's currently doing.
Yeah, I imagine he would. The cops can't take a joke, but you got to be able to laugh at yourself. I don't know if anyone was laughing. Well, we know who got the last laugh in the 1866 Honduran presidential election, and that was Jose Maria Medina. They won the popular vote and were subsequently appointed president by their Congress.
Yeah, that's always the way it's supposed to go. Hey, you won. Congratulations.
Well, we could tell you a little bit more about that winner. Served as president of Honduras 3 times during the 1860s and 70s. Born in Sencenti, his father is not known, but his mother was Antonia Medina Castellon.
Now, this case is actually going to the Supreme Court over the issue of qualified immunity, basically whether the officers had any. And they're saying that it would be reasonable for officers to think that Novak on his Facebook page might have been impersonating a police officer and was not parodying the police officers, which would have been protected speech. I don't know if I quite agree with that. I don't think you can look at a Facebook page and be like, that man is trying to be the police. But apparently they did, and apparently a court agreed with that.
Yeah, the Onion went on to defend Novak's comments as obvious parody under the reasonable reader standard established by prior jurisprudence, adding, quote, "True, not all humor is equally transcendent, but the quality and taste of the parody is irrelevant." Yeah, I mean, we've all got to be able to know when things are serious and when things are not. And I got to say, this is pretty seriously interesting case. It's ongoing, it's pending, it's moving on to the next round of the Supreme Court, and I think we should do the same and move it on to the next round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
I agree with that, if only because the amicus brief that The Onion filed in court said The Onion now enjoys a daily readership of 4.3 trillion and has grown into the single most powerful and influential organization in human history. The Onion was writing a bunch of things that were not true to be like, hey, look, people can understand fact from fiction, guys. See, it's a joke.
And you can find ways to make almost anything, technically accurate. And so technically, you're moving on to the next round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
That's an interesting case. I like that one.
Yeah, I'll be anxious to see how it goes. I'm sure that the justices will be glad to see that one come across their desk in comparison to some of the others that they may get. Speaking of coming across the desk, I can't wait to see what's coming across our desk in round 7.
Round 7. Round 7. Round 7. Round 7.
In round 7, we have Jonathan Wathan against Nicholas Masia.
Okay, we finally have ourselves our first inevitable football player coming into the mix here, and we also have a surgeon who probably helped fix a bunch of football players at some point or another. Let's see which one of these is going to score a victory into the next round.
It's not often that we get a person versus a person, considering Infinity is a lot of moths, small cities in Iran, and other random things, but here we go, person versus person. Jonathan Wathan was an English surgeon who specialized in diseases of the eye and practiced in London during the Georgian era. He was a teacher and mentor to ophthalmologist James Ware and Sir Jonathan Wathan Waller, the oculist to George III.
Oculist is a great sounding job to have. I'd love to be the royal oculist. As it sounds that this guy was a mentor to, born in 1727 or 28, most likely in Stroud, Gloucestershire, to Jonathan Wathan, a wealthy clothier of Stroud, and his wife Sarah Watkins. He apprenticed about 1745 under his older brother, Samuel Wathan, MD, a well-known London physician whose patients included several people. The association lasted for 10 years or more, and it's likely that at some point Jonathan graduated from apprentice to partner.
Now, he is known for, among other things, presenting a paper in 1755 to the Royal Society on the method of restoring hearing by using a catheter to clear a blocked Eustachian tube, the canal that runs from the nose to the ear. Although he made this presentation to the society, he was never admitted there as a fellow. However, he was elected a fellow to the Society of Antiquaries of London. That's nice.
Now, would that have been posthumously?
Ooh, perhaps. I don't think so. I think he was alive because he lived until 1808, and it looks like this happened in the 1770s.
Good on him. Although Jonathan Wathan never received any formal medical training, perhaps the reason he wasn't accepted into portions of that, he did publish and became very well known. He always referred to himself in his publications as a surgeon, but he specialized in diseases of the eye and throat, and is sometimes referred to as one of the founding fathers of ophthalmology in England. However, that term is probably more appropriate for a college-trained physician named James Ware, who Jonathan took on as an assistant in 1777.
It's so interesting to me, the beginnings of medical training. A lot of people were like, I just kind of think this works. Do you have training? No. But me and my brother are doing the same thing, so it's got to count, right?
Yeah, and looking at this diagram of his operation here, he was just experimenting with putting a big long tube in your nose, going through the, everything's up in there. It's all connected, and trying to push out some gunk. But apparently it worked.
I mean, I guess you can call that working. I wouldn't want to try it. Medicine from back then scares me. I'm afraid of leeches and holes in my brain.
Speaking of scary, let's talk about that monster of the football pitch, Nicholas Masia.
Now, he is a Uruguayan football player who plays for Monagas SC. He began his career in Uruguay, playing for Danubio in the Primera Division Uruguaya, and he moved to Venezuela to play for Mineros de Guyana in 2006. Scored 4 goals in a match against Estrella Roja during the 2007 season. Not 4 goals total in the season, 4 goals in that one fabulous match.
Wow, unforgettable, truly. A lot of people don't score 4 goals in their entire life. This guy definitely, he was a midfielder, so he had a good leg. Played for a number of teams. He seems like someone who just made it happen and scored some goals for himself on and off the field. But that is also about all that we can tell you about him right now.
I can tell you that he's 1.76 meters tall, he's 41 years old, and we believe he is currently still playing.
At 41, hey, he must be on that TB12 diet. Speaking of diet, let's jump over to our other, back over to our Jonathan Wathan contestant. He's a physician. He must have been into health and things like that, though he would eventually die on the 17th of January in 1808.
Yes, as everyone will, he eventually did, but not without leaving behind publications such as a method proposed to restoring hearing, Boharov's academical lectures, practical observations concerning the cure of venereal disease, a dissertation on the theory and cure of the cataract, and a new and easy method of curing fistula lacrimalis, the 2nd edition.
Yes, and the first one was nearly unforgettable. Though this one states it has considerable improvements. This was a guy who, as we said, never received any formal training, but he kept at it, helping people day after day, trying to, make you feel a little bit better and unclog little things inside of your head. I think that's pretty special. Nicholas Messia, you've got, good stats, but I don't know if you're, are you clearing out anything from my nasal cavities?
Hopefully not.
I don't think so. And so Jonathan Wathan, if nothing else, in this illustration here where they're sticking something up it looks like a decapitated head's nose, there's a human hand coming through holding a syringe. But what I'd like to highlight is that he's got ruffles coming from his, from the wrist there. And you could tell he was well dressed, even though you can only see that part of his hand. I'm guessing that was his hand. And so this must have been one fancy man dancing into the next round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I think we all know who is going to win from the beginning. Football players, rest of the world, don't do very well in the tournament.
No, and I'm not sure really how well this procedure did, and I'm glad that I don't have to find out. What we will find out is a little bit more when he inevitably shows up in round 2, because he's earned it. Jonathan Wathan, congratulations. You're moving on.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
He got the sound effect twice. That's how special he was. We liked him so much, he got it twice.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, you didn't have to get that procedure twice. Again, sticking what looks like a needle up your nose, never a good time. But what is always a good time is round 8.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8?
Round 8!
In round 8, we have Lacamilla aquatoriensis. Good luck with that one. Against DEI Holdings.
Oh, okay. So we've got something that's, it's got roots. It's holding on to the ground versus something that's holding on to, looks like several brands of consumer auto electronics and vehicle security stuff. Let's see which one's grip will be able to pull them in to the next round.
Lacamilla, I'm going to give it one more shot here, aquatoriensis, there we go, is a species of plant in the family Rosaceae that is endemic to Ecuador. That's the entirety of that article.
Indeed, it is. Couldn't have said it better myself, because there's nothing else to say, really. Of the kingdom Plantae, we got its whole thing down there. Yeah, we don't even have a picture here. What I do like is when they include definitions of words like plant in articles like this. Predominantly photosynthetic eukaryotes of the kingdom Plantae. Good to know, good knowledge. But if you're going to break down a word like plant, I think you should do so in simpler terms.
Yeah, but, it's Wikipedia. Nothing's ever simple in Wikipedia, as we've discovered.
That's true. And nothing is ever simple in the world of U.S. parent companies, including that of DEI Holdings.
Yeah, so it's owned by New York and Boston-based private equity firm Charles Bank Capital Partners. The company became DEI Holdings and was founded by future U.S. Representative Darrell Issa and his wife Kathy in 1982 as Directed Electronics, with Darrell serving as the first CEO.
Yeah, and then in 2000, Issa was elected to the House of Representatives, and he was replaced as CEO. In 2004, the firm bought the Speaker Company. In 2008, it adapted a holding company strategy and became DEI Holdings, Inc. In 2011, it was bought by this Charles Bank Capital's partner. In 2013, it combined Polk, Definitive Technology, and the Boom Movement brands into a division called Sound United. So it's a company that's just sucking up other sound companies.
Yeah, I'm really not okay with that. I'm not okay with a company whose sole purpose is just to buy other smaller companies and then strip them of their parts to the bare essentials and give us less quality, fewer choices, and charge us more money.
Yeah, and if we know anything about, music and music production, it's all about getting it all in there, making it clearer and making it louder. Let's pump up the volume. Speaking of pumping up the volume, let's talk about that rock star that is Arcamilla Equatoriensis. I would really like to, though. There's just nothing else that we haven't said.
It is listed as vulnerable under conservation status, and it is a member of the rose family.
Oh, a vulnerable rose here presenting itself in the ultimate tournament of everything. It's sensitive, it's delicate, it's Ecuadorian, and I would say that it's definitely at risk here, facing off against its competitor, who is, it's trying to absorb everything. Like the Borg, what are they? They assimilated stuff into other sound. Has the sound gotten better? Is what I want to know. Does everything sound better through what these people are producing than it did before, or does it just cost more?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it costs more and probably sounds less good.
Never a strategy for success. I don't know. I don't know nothing about this plant here, but and I don't really want to have to say its name again. However, I'm feeling in my heart that this rose has bloomed, and I'd like to move it on to the next round with your permission.
Well, we don't have to say it again. We can just say the rose from Ecuador. You are our choice for this round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
That's a nice little growl you got there, Rob. Nice round. I like it. You're getting into it, and we're getting into round 9.
It's about time for round 9. Round 9.
Before we dive into our competitors, let's remind you one more time, you can check us out every single day on any podcast form. Tuesday, Thursday, you're going to get full-length episode gold, such as this, and every other day of the week, you're going to get succinct scouting report gold as well. For absolutely nothing, all we ask is you like, subscribe, tell all your friends we're your absolute favorite podcast, or somewhere in between there and something else, and we'll appreciate it forever. Don't forget, you can reach out to us with sound plugs and things like that through Anchor FM, so take advantage of that and look for video editions to come out in the near future. Speaking of the near future, let's look into our crystal ball and learn who our competitors are going to be in this round.
In this round, we have Patrick Wojcicki against La Tigre 570.
Ooh, very exciting. Both of these kind of sound like, again, good band names. Let's see which one's going to rock and roll into the next round.
Patrick Wojcicki, born August 14th, 1991, in Wolfsburg, Germany, is a German boxer who in the 2012 Summer Olympics competed in the men's welterweight, but was defeated in the first round.
So that would have been when he was a professional, but let's back it up a little bit to round one when he was an amateur. In 2008, he reached the quarterfinals of the AIBA Youth World Championships in the 64 kilogram division, losing that when the referee stopped the contest. But he moved up to the senior division in 2009. In 2010, he competed at the European Championships. He gained a kilogram, but again, he did not gain victory, losing in the preliminary rounds to an individual. So this is a guy who definitely wasn't pulling any punches, but he just wasn't ever able to make it into the big dance.
Now, there was a period of time where he focused on using his feet as well and focused on kickboxing, signing a contract with Sauerland Events and made his professional debut in 2015. He faced fellow German Zurich Dansdian at the TUI Arena in Hanover, and he won by technical knockout in the fourth round. Following 9 more wins, he faced his first setback when his fight against Antonoli Huninyan was a draw after 8 rounds of boxing.
Yeah, he definitely went on a hot streak there, but it seems that after a tie, things stalled a little bit, but not entirely. He fought an individual named Ronnie Mittag for the IBF Intercontinental Middleweight title in 2018, winning in a unanimous decision after 12 rounds. That's a lot of punches to the face. He won a bunch of times. He was pretty good, but he was forced to take a long break between fights due to the COVID-19 epidemic. He was due to fight Patrice, an individual named Patrice, in an elimination match where the winner would go on to face someone else, but that match was canceled, and that seems to have canceled his professional career.
Now, something that probably should have been canceled was the La Ticure 570, which is a twin-engined medium bomber used by Italy in World War II. And we all remember which side Italy fought for, and it wasn't the good guys.
So this is a plane. It's an aircraft that could deliver, for example, a 1,000 kilogram, or gosh, that's over a ton, bomb load over a range of 1,500 kilometers with a maximum speed 400 kilometers at about 4,000 meters. Be able to reach that altitude in 15 minutes. This was just a strike plane. Let's get it up in the air real quick, unload a whole bunch of destruction, and get back in time for a sweet spaghetti dinner.
It was so good, they made one of them.
The prototype I see. It took a long time to get into the air compared with its competitors. Just wasn't really up to snuff. Can't say it's necessarily a bad thing, though. Fewer bombs in the air, fewer bombs on the ground. But good golly, they're working on getting them up there.
Yeah, its stats: it had a crew of 4. Length of 61 feet, wingspan of 76 feet, height of 21 feet, wing area of 840 square feet, an empty weight of a little under 13,000 pounds, and a gross weight of a little over 22,000 pounds.
Yeah, maybe we can paint a visual picture here. The fuselage was a monocue structure of roughly elliptical cross-section with a flattened bottom, okay? Now, there was extensive glazing in the nose for the navigator/bomb aimer and the radio operator behind. You had the pilot's enclosed cockpit slightly behind the leading edge of the wing, a long way behind the nose. This did restrict his view at takeoff, but immediately behind him on the port side of the fuselage at the midcord was a vertical bomb slack, filling the whole height of this fuselage.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of places to mount bombs. There's an access corridor on the starboard side. Another bomb could be mounted below this floor. There's also an internal bomb mounting on the wing roots at this position, and behind this bomb bay and near the wing trailing edge was an upper dorsal retractable turret with a cannon.
You know who had a cannon and also kind of bombed a few times? Our other competitor, Patrick Wojcicki. He could punch. It doesn't say he was a southpaw, so we're guessing it was his right he had to look out for, but the jab was no slough either. It's kind of too bad that a lot of careers got a lot of athletic careers and besides got ended because of that darn pandemic. But it's tough to come back, after a few years of not getting punched in the face to get punched in the face a whole bunch again.
I don't know why we're dragging it out. We know we have a couple standing rules on this show, and I think this round, one of them comes into play. That rule of don't be a Nazi. Now, I get it. The Italians weren't the Nazis, but they were fighting for them, so in my book, that's just as bad. And I think in most books, that's just as bad. And I think I need to go with our boxer friend.
Yeah, he's really punching above his weight, which is 68 and or 69 kilograms, depending on when you met him. However, this is a plane. This is, it's if you're into that type of stuff, I'm sure it sounds pretty cool. And I'm having trouble going with this, with this boxer guy. He's just not ringing my bell, is what I'm saying. So, Rob, I think that we're going to have to go to a tie breaker.
Time for a tiebreaker.
As everyone knows, here we decide tiebreakers by actually finding facsimiles of the competitors. So, Mike, I will find a German boxer, you find a model of this bomber plane, and we will pit them against each other to figure out which one of the real ones would come out victorious.
Okay, yes, it's going to depend on which part of the plane he punches. I think that the nose would probably hurt less than the wing, but I'm kind of a thigh guy myself. Why don't we just pick a random number between 1 and 10,000?
That sounds great. I am going to go with 1991, the year of Patrick's birth.
And I'm going to go with 2,200 because that's how many pounds of bomb this thing could carry.
Okay, our randomly selected number using our random number generated machine, which got sent to me in the mail by a fan, is 9,174.
And I believe, though I don't really exactly remember what your number was, I think Letecoer 570 is the victor. Am I right?
You are right. You are correct.
Yes. All right. I can remember parts of things. And you're going to be flying high into the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Good job.
Well, not good enough to actually get built. Is a prototype, but sometimes the absence of something is better than its presence. That not being the case for this, the ultimate tournament of everything. Before we are present every single day, join us. Scouting reports, full-length episodes. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, download, leave comments and ratings, and know that we love you. And join us next time for the next episode of
The ultimate tournament of everything.